Hello everybody. It's nice to be back. It's been a few weeks. In fact, it's been a lot longer than that actually, because a number of the streams that I've released I've pre-recorded, and I've been on holiday. I went away, had a lovely time in Morocco. Very nice place. Would happily go back there. And released a few things over that period of time just to keep my average up. Remember, this year's challenge for me is to stream once a week, to add 52 of these things to Twitch and YouTube, to try and record what's in here, or possibly what's not in here. For those of you who think you've just actually dialed into a sex line, then yes, this is my voice. This is my voice because I have a cold stroke COVID stroke flu stroke feel like rubbish. But I'm determined to do tonight or today or whatever else it is, because I have a game tomorrow. That's Tuesday, the 21st of July 2024 at 7 p.m. GMT, 11 a.m. Chester time, whatever that is, possibly East, Central, I'm not sure. I still don't understand the American system. They've got too many time zones, and like they say, America is big, then the whole place is big. So anyway, about 11 a.m. Chester time, and Chester challenged me to play one of something he'd been creating or playing around with. This wasn't my original intent. My original intent was to actually do stuff over the weekend. Unfortunately, I've been in bed doing the husky voice stuff. But my intention was to actually do some Project W stuff and start and introduce it and tell you about the 50 cards that I've kind of created. And in doing that, I've just realised I've given a spoiler out. So please forgive me, or rather, please indulge me. But this came up, and I thought, strike while the iron is hot. My brain isn't going very far, my head hurts, but I think I can try and digest some of this. And I thought, well, if I'm going to stream the match, which I thought I would do, and they're going to be 2 games, one this week and one next week, as I understand it, then I thought it better to do that and prep it, rather than having a load of stuff stored and whatever else, and then you've got to keep track of it and release it and whatever else. So this is a BT Tactics thing, and I'm a little hesitant on this, because if you've watched any of my streams, or looked at the contents in the past, or followed any of the stuff that's been posted on Facebook and Discord and whatever else, if you haven't already done so, you'll probably come, or you go and look at it, you'll probably come to the conclusion that I like the original game. Even though it's 20, whatever it is, years old, I like the original game. For all its faults, for all its quirks, for all its idiosyncrasies and weird and wonderfulness, for all its crap cards and all its overpowered cards and all its great cards, I still like the original game. It's about 800 cards. I think it's 840 something. Okay. And then people have made stuff. Fine. In fact, I've got to put my hand up there, which I do. Here it is. You're watching yourself do it in reverse. I'm putting my hand up here. I have made stuff. That's what Project W is. But a lot of people have tried to just expand on those 840 odd cards, which is fair enough. And when you have a when you have a card game that's based on a tabletop game, board game, whatever you want to call it, tabletop's the right word, I think. And there are so many manuals and so many variants. everybody likes their favourite mech. Everyone likes their Marauder, but they like it with this configuration and not the other configuration. Or they like the Rifleman with this, or the Archer with that. Or they like the Unseen mechs. Or I like the new version of this that they've just released out because it's got 2 PPCs and an RM15 rack, or whatever else it is. And you're always going to get that. Which is why people want to design their own units and convert them. And certainly it would take a lot of time to do all of that because there's so many variants. And there's probably variants where you only see 1 or 2 of them ever. You know, they're that unseen kind of thing. That people will want them, and I want 6 of those in a deck, and they probably should be unique and all the other stuff. And you've seen from John Ivers' stuff where he deconstructed all of the Battletech kind of design or number crunching to make a Man of War Primer 374 and long range this and created all the rules and other things, which is great. And people have taken that and turned it into a spreadsheet, and then people have not liked the numbers, so they've changed the numbers and whatever else, and create their own stuff, which is fine, you know, create your own stuff. But at about 800 cards, then if you look at a lot of the other online games, that's about the limit of where people start having seasons and rotating cards in and out of the game, and not banning them, but saying you can't use this and you've got to use that and things like that, because there's so much to get your head around primarily. And from a designer point of view, there's so much for them to... If I've got 10 cards, it's easy to work out which ones are going to work with the other ones. But if I've got 1,000 cards, I've got to know all of them like the back of my hand and work out all the combinations and have an evil genius mind and everything else. So they rotate cards in and out. So you know, that's fine. People can design their own stuff. But I've generally tried to avoid publicising them or advocating them, because I like the original game, and I was, up until recently, fairly true to that, until Chester sneaked some of the BT Tactics cards into Jules' stockpile when I wasn't looking, and whatever reason, and I ended up putting them on here. Not many, but there are a few, and this will do that. I'm not fully endorsing BT Tactics. I think it's a big expansion. I think it's done pretty consistently. I think it's done pretty fairly, and I think there's a load of balance in there. There's 1 or 2 things that are generous, 1 or 2 things that are very innocuous in the way that a lot of the Battletech cards are. So I think from a balanced point of view, it's pretty good. But there's a lot of cards. There's an awful lot of cards. So anyway, I was talking to Chester, and I'm going to pull this down from the shelf and try and get this on screen. So one of the other games I play is a game called Arkham Horror. And it comes in 2 flavours. Okay, it's a card game, but it's a living card game. So you get a huge, let me see if I can get this on screen, huge box like this with loads of cards in it. You have player cards, and you have what I would call, for better phrasing, story cards, which tell, because it's a living card game, a story. Certain things happen, you make certain decisions, you use your cards in hand to play out the story, etc, etc, and you buy a box like that. That's the starter box. But if you buy a campaign box, then you will normally have 8 mini stories, which on average take you 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, and as you go through those, you can upgrade and whatever else. And one of the things I shall have to do at some point in the future is work out whether Battletech could be an LCG, and in doing that I'm going to need to change my entire workshop configuration, find a desk space, find a card playing space, rig up a couple of webcams and point them down and shoot all of that and talk through it. Which I can do. It's just time and other things. But Battletech could be an LCG, and that's one of the things I wanted to explore. But instead of playing the entire 8-set campaign, which is a day's work, and by that I mean you start at 9 in the morning, you finish at 9 at night, you break for beer, pizza, and the toilet kind of thing. They introduced scenarios of which this is one of them, the Labyrinths of Lunacy. I can just pull that down easily, and if I go back up here, let's pull the webcam out if I can. I should break everything, why the hell not? You can see on the shelf at the back there, where are we, about this level here, there's a whole raft of them in there. I own them all, or I own them all currently. There's another one coming out. Fortunes of Folly is a complete rip-off of Oceans 8, 9, 11, 12, whichever one it is. It's a heist kind of story. The Labyrinths of Lunacy I've just showed you actually is a rip-off of Saw. Murder at the Excelsior Hotel has got 8, or is it 10 different endings. It's a murder mystery. There are loads of other things in there for reference. So let's just put the camera back. So there's a whole load of them, and the really, really simple idea is that you want to play a game, you pull a deck out, and you go and attempt one of these, which is basically a challenge scenario type thing. Okay, and when Chester was talking to me about these the other day, this resonated with me, and of course now I've buggered around with my webcam and it's not sitting right, and I've moved it. That's probably a bit better. No, my slob t-shirt takes pride of place. That's possibly a bit better. Possibly. I need to point it that way and down. That's fine. So when Chester pointed them out and said these are kind of scenarios, it kind of resonated with me. It also resonated on another level, which was the Batchel level. If you go back, I've done a number of things with Battletech. I went through the basic set, i.e. all of the normal set, normal game, limited, unlimited, Counter-Strike, Mercenaries, Mech Warrior, Arsenal, Commanders Edition, Crusade. Went through all of that for the original spreadsheet that was being used on Lackey, and checked a lot of the errors. Still picked a few up. There's still a few. In fact, there are 2 errors at the moment still in the game, which I think Michael has got fixed with the beating tactics stuff. I don't think Travis has picked up on them yet, so they're still in the game. So I did all of that. I then did all of the lots of upgrades and other things, and proof checks and armaments and things, and tonnage calculators, and telling people we need this in the Lackey. It needs to be a separate column because you filter on it. You know, massive argument just to get Alliance and Allegiance so that you can filter on Inner Sphere and then Davian, as opposed to General and whatever else it is, or other things. Then I did all of last year I did all the draft research, and got all the packs set up so that you can draft, which I've exploited in Project W. I did all the Batchel stuff and brought the Batchel tournament set up over as well. So I've done quite a lot of that, as well as other things going on. So when Chester was talking about this, I thought I quite like this as an area for development. Oh, we've done the dual stockpile as well, because I still like the core game, and I've said it a number of times, and I think Kevin Michael emphasised it when he did his last gauntlet. There are still lots of cards that never really got explored in Crusade. Oh, and by the way, congrats to Kevin for winning the Steel City Assault tournament, and anyone else that played in there. Looks like had a load of fun. And for reference, yes, you can get flights to the UK to Pittsburgh. You never know. So there are loads of cards that never got explored. There are loads of formats that never really, or people never play. They play the normal game. Fine, great, no problems with that. Draft, great. Sealed deck, great. Rochester, long drafting thing, and probably doesn't happen. I don't think there are many times that even it happened in the real world back in the heyday, let alone now. But it's available and it can be done. It's a dual stockpile on top of that was another great format. Battle format created by, I think it was Tony Miracle and the guys out of there. Please forgive me if I've forgotten. Another great format, another great challenge of deck building. And then this scenario format that Jester came out. And this resonated with me because it's very much like the Arkham Horror scenarios. It's something you can pick up, put down, and play. Or if you want a challenge, you can build decks for it and potentially have a lot of fun with it. And he's done a load of scenarios. And the only one that we're looking at is Scenario 20. And the reason is we can easily substitute a couple of the cards. Okay, so I'm going to show you I'm going to show you the 4 cards that Chester gave me. These are the scenario summary cards. So as I understand it, these will sit in the game as a reference. Let's see if I can go full screen with this. You can go away and have a look at these. So, scenario summary A, these cards come in pairs. Let me move this across so that we can see it nicely on the screen and you don't end up looking at my ugly face. So, scenario cards come in pairs with both sides listed at the bottom. Players may examine opponent's scenario card at any time. That's fair enough because that's basically going to be their objectives. Okay, and then it says hidden location, box powers and all alliance cards are banned in scenario format. Makes sense, as you'll see in a minute. There are 10 cards, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not overly excited with the wording here. There are 10 cards that are in the sideboard. So unlike a normal sideboard, which is 8 cards, this is 10 cards, and they are used as a container for specific cards. You do not have an 8-card standard tournament sideboard, okay? The idea here is that you play one side against your opponent, and then you swap and play the other side against their competing deck. You don't swap decks, you swap scenarios. We'll talk about this in a second. Okay? And the sideboard, with its 10 cards in here, are used to house cards which are called principles. And I'm guessing that the reason they're called principle is that they are principal to this particular scenario and fundamental to what's going on. Okay. All of those cards are assigned to a number of areas at the start of the game. Some will go on the board, some will go in your hand, and some will remain in the sideboard for you to draw later instead of drawing from your deck. Okay, that's quite an important factor because the way you win the game is you achieve the objectives of what are called the victory principles. So generally this is 1, win, normally beat the crap out of the other guy, exhaust their stockpile, and 2, there is some sort of additional objective. And that is worth points, okay, 10 points say, okay. And when you win the game, your stockpile card count, i.e. what you've got left, is your score. I quite like that because that gives you an efficiency factor, a speed factor, and also you can win against the odds, which is a real challenge. Some of these are not balanced, they are designed for you to lose, but the art is how well or how badly you lose, which is kind of fun as well, because sometimes I like a challenge, and if you think I'm going to lose, I'm going to do my best to win, which is kind of fun in that respect. I'm not going to make it easy for you. Okay. Now, the principles, as we see, have some restrictions about them, which we'll talk about in a second. And I also have stashed away, let me find it, an instruction document that was sent me about how to word these or how to understand these. Okay, but for simplicity's sake, I don't think I've just popped it up on another window so I can see it if I need to. I'm going to use the scenario cards that they give you in the game. Okay, so that's scenario A, which is part A of the setup, for want of a better phrase. There we go. Part B. Scenario decks are designed for one-for-one play using a standard 60-card format deck, except for the principles cards, which, as we've said, go in the sideboard. Okay. Scenario victory conditions and special rules are based on the historic personalities and events taken from the Battletech universe lore. So all of those books by Stackpole, Blood of Kerensky, and everything else that you've read, Wonderful Chester has converted these all into potential mini scenarios. Yay, it sounds quite fun. And we're on 20, and I'm sure there are way more than 20. So there's a lot of content there. And arguably, if you wanted to do it, you could say, yay, let's have a tournament, and we'll all do it about scenario, whichever one it is. You get this, you get that, you get the other. Okay, so how does this work? Okay, so the principles are not part of your deck, they sit in the sideboard. Each one has a descriptor about where it starts in the game. If it has IH next to it, it's in your hand. Okay, I don't know, is IH a good principle? Could you just put hand? Maybe, don't know. Activated deployed, probably could just be activated. If it's activated, it has to be deployed, unless there's some specifics where it's deployed and you have to build it. I don't know enough about the scenarios to say. I've only seen one, which is this one. Okay, and OG, which says outside the game until drawn. This actually means your sideboard. Maybe it'd be nice to have another section for OG. I don't know. It could easily be added. And then you also have TX. Okay, now TX cards are outside of the game until a turn, and X is the number. So if that was T3, it would mean that on turn 3, whichever card it is that's out of game and in your sideboard ends up on the table, as we will see in a minute. Okay, and they must be deployed. In fact, this is actually slightly wrong, because as I understand it, they're not deployed, they are AG'd and stuck on the table. You don't pay for them. And this is part of the thematic stuff. Okay, so maybe there's a word change there. Final victory at the end of the game. Players count the number of cards left in the stockpile, then switch sides and play the other side. If you deplete the opposing stockpile but don't scrap the required cards based on the scenario, so you can win the game normally, then you have your additional objectives. If you don't achieve the additional objectives, you subtract 10 points. And player with the highest card count after both games wins the match. Yay! See the instructions. Great. Okay. So, this is the two cards that Chester has given me. I am just going to pull this out. I'm going to slap this across the front of, and let's bring this to the front so we can see it. So, this is scenario 20. The scenario is called Great Refusal. Not sure if it should be The Great Refusal. And the component or proponent here is Kai. And you can see here he has a nice white horse, which means he has a St. Ives allegiance. So this is a St. Ives deck. Scenario Stranomacti 3060 in a sphere side. Okay. So, nice picture. Possibly one of them. Yeah, right. So, principles. You can choose to have Kai Aladlau or Kai Champion of Solaris in your deck. You may not have the other in your deck. So you can't put, I'll choose Kai and stick him in the sideboard as a principle, and I can't stick Kai Champ in the deck. So it's limiting you to Kai, which one you choose. Okay. You also get Kai's Stormcrow B on turn 5. So you get both of those together. So you don't deploy on turn 5 as I understand it. Maybe you do, I'm not sure. But regardless, on turn 5, Kai pops up with his Stormcrow. Okie dokie. And they are stuck together. You cannot take Kai off and hide him on a fast mech so people can't attack him. He stays on the Stormcrow B. Okay. On turn 4, you get 1 copy of St. Ives Lancers. You also have 2 Ghost Mech Warrior pilots, 1 in your hand at the start of the game, and 1 out of game, still in your sideboard. Any 3 St. Ives mission cards, 2 in your hand and 1 out of game. 1 Inner Sphere Command, that's very generic, and 1 support, both in hand. Okay? So that's the kind of setup based on what's in your sideboard. And then you so you open your sideboard, you sort out what's going on with these. So you put your Mech Warrior, your Ghost Mech Warrior in your hand to start with, and a couple of missions, and then your command cards and your support cards. So you start with 5 cards in your hand, and then you start playing the game normally, which means you draw 5 cards, which gives you an opening hand of 10, which is quite good. The nice thing here is that you get 1 support card. Where it says 1 support, it means A, L, M, P, or T, basic support cards. What the others are all down to your own personal strategy. Okay, and on top of that, you draw 3 cards and make 3 deployments on your second turn. You go first. That seems pretty strong. Drawing 3 cards and making 3 deployments on your second turn. Wow. I'm guessing Kai is supposed to win this. Okay. You go first in the game, so you can probably put down your support, then you draw 3 and make 3 deployments. That's pretty snotty. Okay. Victory. Scrap Vlad of the Wards and deplete the opponent's stockpile. So you've got to beat the hell out of them. Okay. So let's just... And I like the detail in the card, because I think using the card for information is something that... I'm going to sneeze, please excuse me. Or maybe not. That I know worked really well in Arkham Horror. So I've just turned it into a little chart, which I think was easier. So you start with a Ghost Mech Warrior, 2 St. Ives missions, an Inner Sphere Command and a support card in your hand, and you draw your normal 5. Opening hand, and then turn 1 you draw a card. So you're on 11 cards. Okay. The final Ghost Mech Warrior stays in your sideboard. You have 1 St. Ives mission there. The Lancers stay there, as does Kai and Ryokan B. Turn 2, you get 3 deployments and draw 3 cards. Wow, you're not going to be able to control yourself. You've got too many cards. And then nothing happens on turn 3. On turn 4, you take St. Ives Lancers from your sideboard, or out of game, and you slap it on the table. And on turn 5, you slap down whichever Kai you've chosen and put him on a Ryokan B. So, this is the Great Refusal scenario, obviously. Okie dokie. So, let's just have a quick look at a couple of the cards. So, there's the Ryokan B. We've decided, because we haven't got access to it, we're just going to use a normal Ryokan B instead of the one that Kai got to play with. If there's much difference in stats, I don't know. But realistically, you're getting a 9 cost unit plus a 6 cost pilot, or 5 cost pilot, depending on which version you choose, for free. Okay, and the Ghost Mech Warrior here is a St. Ives card. Pilot with 1 armor, 1 attack, and 1 initiative. As I said, I'm not overly fond of the expansions. I prefer to play the original lovely game as it was, but I'm helping my buddy here, so I will eat this up. You may reassign Ghost Mech Warrior from any untapped or engaged mech to any mech you control. Okay, so it's got reassigned pilot in it. Oh no, hold on, that's just normal. I'm not sure whether you assign your Ghost Mech from an untapped or engaged mech to any mech you control. Use this ability any number of times during your missions phase. even if the mech piloted by Ghost Mech Warrior is not engaged. Okay, so I think... Okay, so you can move pilots in the missions, or you can move this guy in the missions phase. And I'm thinking this means that you can move them into free mech, an empty mech, unpiloted mech should be the phrase, in the middle of a battle any number of times during... But it says use this any number of times in the missions phase, but it doesn't say during a mission. So I'm a little confused about where this is actually going, or what the point of this is. But one cost for one attack, one armour and one initiative is quite nice. And as a pilot, there's a nice bit of a bonus there. So we'll have a look at the Vlad side of things. So here is the counter card, the other half of the scenario. Let me bring this to the front again. And we have the Great Refusal. We have Vlad's version of it. Okay, so Vlad is playing Wolf. We can tell it's the same one. It's 20. It's got the same title, different person. He's playing a Wolf deck, which is here. So in a normal tournament, one of you would play Vlad, one of you would play Kai. You play the game, and then you swap. You play Kai if you play Vlad, or you play Vlad if you play Kai, swap over and play the other side. If you win 2-0, you win 2-0. If it's a draw, one each, then it goes to card count. Okay, how many's left in your stockpile, plus or minus any of the objectives achieved. Is it worth, I wonder, and I'm only doing this because it's what popped in my head, to give rewards for additional objectives? Maybe scrap 5 units, for example, to get 5 extra points. I don't know. Might be worth thinking about. Or you know, gain 1 additional point for each resource you've put on the table or something. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of scope there to add challenge and variation. Okie dokie. So, the principles here. You get Vlad of the Wards. Unfortunately, that means you cannot use, because the card says counts as Vlad while in play, Khan Vlad, which would have been very nice. I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, and you get a Timberwolf Prime. Now, Timberwolf Prime is a snotty piece of kit. It's a 15 2L 297 overheat 3+3 missile 2, if I remember rightly. And Vlad can attack any other unit regardless of speed. So you have a 7 damage mech, which is going to kill most things. And you can attack anything you want, including fast mechs with it. That's quite nice. But you get it on turn 5. You go second, so the other guy is going to drop Kai onto the table on his Stormcrow, and then the next you're going to get Vlad and the Timberwolf Prime, and then it's a face-off. They're staring at each other. Plus anything else you've got on the table as well. Okay, you get a Silver Keshik on turn 4, whatever one of those is. Any one support in hand, so that's pretty standard. That's the same as the other guy. You have 3 Quicksilver pilots, but you only get 1 in hand and 2 OH out of hand. I'm assuming that should be OG, and it should be out of game. Yeah, it should be out of game. So that's in your sideboard still. 2 Wolf missions. Now, for those of you who are playing the normal, wonderful version of the game, there are no dedicated Wolf missions. That's true. However, in the Tactics version of the game, there are a few. So I'm sure you can find 2 of those. And you also get 1 Wolf command card. Any command card. So you... excuse me. You could have Natasha Kerensky, because she's a command pilot. You could have Wolf High Command. You could have Blood of Kerensky, that wonderful resource card that requires politics that nobody plays. any command that's aligned to wolf and has the command keyword. So there's a bit of thought and a bit of strategy required here. Those are all in hand. Okay. Deck build, on your second turn you gain an extra deployment and draw an extra card. Okay, that's not the 3 that Kai and his mates get, but it does give you a boost. Okay, we go second. Your victory is to scrap Kai, whichever one it is, and again, that could just be Kai bracket X, and deplete the opponent's stockpile. So, again, my little table, and I think a little table, at least for me, shows things a little better. So you can see the state of the board. You start with a support card, a Quicksilver, 2 wolf missions and a wolf command. And you have Quicksilver Pilot still in your sideboard, which instead of drawing a card from the game, when you would normally draw a card from your stockpile, you can draw it from the sideboard stroke out of game. So the advantage here is, and this is how I understand it, you know that card is there, you can draw it when you want. Your sideboard is viewable, so it's a known draw. So you can draw or pull out a Quicksilver Pilot, because it's in your sideboard, out of game, whenever you want. The other card, Silver Keshik, and Vlad and Mad Cat turn up on turn 4 and turn 5. So we'll just see what the Quicksilver Pilot says. Pilot +1 attack, +1 initiative. Mech piloted by Quicksilver attacks and blocks as if it's 1 speed faster. Okay, so note, this is the normal game rules. You have fast, moderate and slow. This is not the TCG Travis card game versus the CCG Cohen card game, where you can have extra fast, fast, moderate, slow and extra slow. I kind of never understood why you needed to do that and get rid of dash and block, but still, not my design choice. I think the game is worse for the lack of those options personally, but there we go. So Mech Pilot is 1 speed faster. If Mech is already fast, it may attack fast units. So that's basically the Vlad ability. And when attacking a site, cannot be blocked except by units guarding the target. So that's kind of, it's not elite mech warrior, it's manoeuvring AC stuff. Target units must be included in the battle if the attack is blocked. Okay, so if I attack one of your units you block with something that's fast, you've got to include it so I can still damage it. That's pretty strong. For 2 units, for 2 resources, and as I understand it, I think there's a clan version of Solaris in the game. That makes that a very good pilot in that respect. Silver Keshik, resource, you don't have to tap it. Interesting. Put a Silver Keshik pilot counter on a mech you control with no pilot or pilot counter. And at this point I'm so happy that I got them to add a generic counter to the game and call it blue, because it's going to be counters everywhere. You've got damage, you've got construction, and you've got build. Yeah, sorry, you've got damage, you've got construction stroke build, and you've got generic counters. So this is going to be a blue counter. You could end up with a lot of blue counters at this place. Use this ability during your deploy phase. Okay. So if I pay 2, I can put a counter on something. What does the counter do? Mechs with any pilot counters from this card gain. You may not assign a pilot to this mech. Okay. And this mech attacks and blocks as if 1 speed faster. If it was already fast, it may not be blocked except by units guarding the target. Which is interesting. So you're giving it this ability. The thing with that is that once you put that counter on there, you can't do anything about it. So basically 2 resources basically means you can't put a pilot on that mech, but this bit, if it is already fast, it may not be blocked except by units guarding the target. So again, that could be quite strong. Paying 2 resources for the ability is interesting, because paying 2 resources is what Quicksilver costs, and you don't get the +1 attack and +1 initiative. So whether it's priced right, I don't know. Whether Quicksilver is quite cheap given the costs. You know, you think about 1 attack and one initiative on that. Okay, yes, you can put this on whatever you want, but you can't get rid of it. You can move your pilot around. Is 2 good? I think 2 might be a touch cheap personally, but I'd have to see how it plays. So anyway, enough of me debating cards. I'm not here to criticise or feedback on BT Tactics cards. I'm here to help my friend. Whether I like the cards or not is another matter. Okay, so let's have a look at what happens. What happens? So at the end of turn 5, we have a Mad Cat Prime on the table on one side, on the wolf kind. As I said, 297 overheat, 3+3 missile 2. And here is Vlad with his paltry 1 initiative and the ability to attack any unit regardless of its speed. 2 5 tactics compared to Quicksilver. God, Vlad. Sorry, mate, power creep, but you're crap, mate. I don't want a unique pilot when I can have 6. And he is up against this Ryokan B, which is a 276 overheat 2+2 alpha 2, with either of the Kais on them. So, what or how do I think you win this? Well, it's quite an easy one. All right, this would be my thought. And if you're watching this, here's a bit of a challenge. In fact, let me just put the Ryokan there and bring Kai up, because at the moment he's hiding behind my ugly mug. Okay. These two are, if Neil Rawlings was here, he would describe them as, these two are very snotty mechs. Which is a very British term, for meaning they are not nice, they are nasty. Okay. So this is a 297 overheat 3+3 missile 2 with initiative 1 with Vlad on it, or you've got Kai Champion on a 276. So Champ gives you +4, so that's a 2710. Area Carpet Bomb for 2 more, 12. And you can overheat for 2 and 2 if you Alpha Strike as well. So you can get 16 out of this Ryokan. You're probably going to blow it up, but you can get 16 out of it. So the Ryokan can kill the Mad Cat can kill the Ryokan. Okay, in that scenario. If we look at the other Kai, he has 3 initiative and 3 attack, which make this a 279, which isn't enough to kill the Mad Cat, but he has prevent 2 damage, so you can get your overheat for free. So basically this becomes a 2, 7, 6 plus 3, 9 plus another 2, 11, which is enough to kill the Mad Cat. So the Mad Cat would, in either case, just say sod it, overheat, assign the missiles, see what you roll. Basically, they would blow each other up. Which would be kind of poetic, because as I understand it, the whole thing was a bit of a draw in the end. However, if I'm Vlad, if I'm Wolf, it would be advantageous to me to kill Kai and keep Vlad alive. Likewise, if I'm Kai, it would be advantageous to kill Vlad and keep Kai alive, depending on which side you're playing. Because with the other one out of the way, this is, because it's turning up on turn 5, by far the best unit on the board by a long way. Okay, most people would have put the Dasher Primes or the Centurion Ds out at this point. And you might have got a Dragonfly or a Zeus or something or other like that. These are so the max damage you're going to get is maybe 5. These are by far the most potent things on the board. If if I can get rid of the other one and keep my potent card, then I'm in a good place, because I'm going to either spank the hell out of your stockpile with it, or I'm going to use it and exchange my single unit for a number of your units. So my conundrum is, for this week, how do you kill Kai as a wolf player? Okay, so tomorrow night I am playing as wolf versus St. Ives. I get to play with Vlad. How do I kill Kai? That's my question. Okay. Next week's question will be, I'm playing Kai. How do I kill Vlad? Because these are both mediums. Okay. Kai cannot attack this. Vlad, in his medium Madcat, can attack the Ryokan. So there's an easier start there. So, and you know, there's no prize, there's no Mars bar for the most innovative solution. However, there is a challenge there. Okay, so whilst I'm here, I just want to pull up. Where are we? Lackey.
Reactor online.
And
Sensors online.
mention
Weapons
a few
online.
other
All systems
things.
nominal.
So, one of my first thoughts was, if I'm Vlad and I can kill Kai, then if I can exchange, that's 50-50, we're the same. But I could, if I played Jade Monkey, get Vlad back. I wouldn't need to black market for him. Jade Monkey says play Jade Monkey on a pilot or command card. If the card enhanced by Jade Monkey goes to your scrap heap, you may put the card in your hand afterwards. This is your deployment, whatever else. Okay, so what I haven't mentioned is that when Kai or his Stormcrow or Vlad and his Madcat die, they are removed from the game. A bit like Task Force Serpent if you play with that variation. Okay, that means they're not in the scrap heap, even though some of the rules say that. They need to be sorted out, clarified. They are removed from the game. You cannot get them back with black market connections. Okay? Neither can you return them to hand with something like Mech Recall, which is put the unit in your hand. If you did that on Kai's Stormcrow or Vlad's Madcat, return the Madcat or Stormcrow to hand, the pilot would effectively get scrapped. They go to the scrap heap. That's why Mech Recall is quite good. So you can't do that. You cannot take Kai off his Ryokan. You cannot play Unlikely Love Affair to remove him from his Ryokan. It's like there's Velcro on the seat and he's got Velcro trousers, he's stuck in it. So you can't scrap him or put him in the stockpile with Unlikely Love Affair. You cannot assassinate him either. You cannot scrap him. Neither can you Death Commando strike him. The only way to kill him, or Vlad, in vice versa, is to kill them in combat. You could decide to take the misroute option, play misrouted command on it, and tie him up for a bit. And then you can add, not unnamed sources, Underworld. You can keep adding counters to him with Underworld connections. Keep him tied up and tied up and tied up until you want to strike that death blow. You could single combat him. The problem with single combat is that it doesn't achieve what I want it to achieve, and what I want it to achieve is to keep my side alive and kill the other side, so I have a much stronger board presence. If you single combat it, all of Kai's AoE and plus damage boosters apply, and you can still overheat and alpha strike. So if you single combat, it's a trade. It's an equal trade, but there is a much bigger prize to be gained by trading out his side and keeping your side alive. So, the question to you guys, and any other command card or card in the game that would instantly scrap either one of them that's not in battle, won't work. So there's the challenge. The most innovative way of killing Kai, or Vlad, on turn 6. Because let's face it, they turn up on turn 5. So on turn 6, you have to have killed them. How do you do it? How do you kill Kai by turn 6? How do you single shot him? Oh, the other one that springs to mind is you cannot conquer him. Play when attacking, unit command cards, unit initiative, it's the world will be scrapped the mission, tap it, remove all damage counters and gain control of it. You cannot do that because it says when it would be scrapped. It's not scrapped, it's removed from game. Conquer doesn't trigger, so you can't go and shoot the other guy and get their unit and whatever else. Doesn't work. Okay, so here's my challenge. How? Oh, now the other one. And I would have liked this one. Transportation delay. When when you put Kai or Vlad into play on turn 5, they are put into play activated. So you bypass the activation phase. So you cannot transportation delay them. Scrap when revealed, deploy, activate it when the opponent activates a mech. It comes in already activated, so that stage has gone, so you cannot deplete them. Which is a bit of a pain, because I think that could have been a bucket load of fun. Kai turns up on the battlefield and finds that his mech is completely empty of ammo and can't do anything. So, here's my challenge. I have a strategy. I would be interested in yours. If you want to go and work on it, then don't watch excuse me, number 71 until you've seen and done this, or come up with your own strategy. If you don't mind, then just skip straight forward when it's there, and see how I attempted to do it. I'm not overly confident. I've made 2 decks to do it, one of which I used the draw generator here, and I could not get to work very well at all, and another one that I used which seems a lot more reliable, so I'm going with that in the short term. So, yes, so how do you kill Kai? How do you kill Vlad? Kai this week, Vlad next week. Best options, best ideas. Please bring them along. Please do not tell Chester, because I don't want him to hit me with them. I would like to pull this one onto him. So, open to offers, post them on Facebook, post them on YouTube, etc, etc. And hopefully we will hear from you. If not, then stay tuned for the next episode to see how I decided to do it, and compare that to what you've come up with. So, I will leave you with a little bit of cat out the bag. I will say, have a nice day.